All right, everybody, welcome to the show today. Today we have on a very special guest that I personally went to college with in Virginia, back in Winchester, Virginia. We went to Shenandoah University together, and we kind of met by chance, um, going all the way across the country from the Antelope Valley all the way out to Virginia. And out there playing baseball, I met my boy Jeff, who you know, is still a really good friend of mine, and we have conversations, we talk. Life gets in the way, but he still reaches out, and I try to do my best. I know I'm not that great at it, but he makes sure that we stay in contact. But today, in today's show, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about some ghost stories that we have, and particularly in Virginia. Later on, next episodes we'll get into local legends out here in the AV. But right now, we're gonna hit on some experiences that him and myself had back in Virginia, and him more so than me because he lived out there longer than I did. So it's gonna be pretty interesting stories, and I think you guys are gonna like it. So here's my buddy Jeff. Jeff, go ahead and tell him what's about.
What's
Tell
going
us a
on,
little bit about
everybody?
yourself.
I
Yeah.
will, man. Mike, thanks for having me, dude. It's always good to see you. You're always a good, friendly face, and I love you, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man. Love you too,
So
bro.
yeah, my name's Jeff, and I grew up in Virginia at a young age. I experienced something pretty crazy. As we're going to talk about ghosts, I guess.
Yeah.
It was one Thanksgiving. I grew up in a neighborhood called Mosby Woods, and Mosby Woods was named after a guy named John S. Mosby, who was a leader of the cavalry of the Confederate Army. And
So it's Mosby Woods,
Mosby Woods,
and
Mosby,
and then where
Mosby
at in where in
Woods.
Virginia actually
It's in
is
Fairfax, Virginia. So,
Fairfax, Virginia. Okay.
yeah, in Fairfax, Virginia. And I guess that's where his cavalry was stationed, or, maybe in those woods of that. Interestingly enough, as I looked this up not too long ago, he was nicknamed the Gray Ghost. And I
Oh
was
wow.
like, well, why'd they call him the Gray Ghost, right? And I guess uh, the way that him and his cavalry worked, I mean, this dude would just show up out of nowhere and take out other unions and, stop supply chains, this, that, and the other, and then would just disappear, get out of there, right? Um, so it's kind of a cool history, I guess, with that area where I used to live. But getting back to Thanksgiving, man, we always have a big Thanksgiving, a lot of family over and everything like that. And I think it was like around dinner time. Me and my cousin Kelly, we were downstairs in the basement playing, and I was about 8 years old at the time. And uh, everybody's upstairs, or at least that's what we thought. We were just down there, just playing around. Well, she saw this little crawl space. It's a basement, right? And then you got this crawl space kind of built into the cinder block wall that's right there. It's probably like a, I don't know, four by four opening, like wooden door that you open up. You could
Hmm.
store boxes, anything underneath the flooring joists and everything like that. So,
Right. Okay. Yeah.
um, so just wanted to peek in there, see what it was. It's dark. It's kind of got that musty smell, that mildew smell. I know you remember that smell back in Winchester in that old house, man.
Oh yeah, man. Those basements, man. They have that dew smell when you walk in there. It's
It's
just
almost like
like
a sack of potatoes or something, like
yeah,
that dirt smell, right? So
all
anyway,
over. Yeah.
I peek my head in there, and there's like a light cord that's, I don't know, about 5, 10 feet in front of me or something like that. I can't remember. I mean, that's just my memory as I'm young. I mean, I'm little. Who knows what my depth perception is at that time? But
Yeah.
it seemed far away to me, and I was like, man, that's really dark. I don't know. Okay, well, I'm gonna go try to turn on this light. As I go in there to switch this light on, I hear something, dude, and it was my name that was called, and it was said basically kind of like how I remember it is said, just like this. It was like, Jeff. And I was like, whoa. You
Damn.
know what I mean? I thought that was like my brother or cousin or somebody back
Yeah.
there just messing with us. I turned around at Kelly. She was, no, hell no, man. I'm out of here. And like, I get the hell out of that crawl space as well. We come running upstairs. We're white as a ghost, huffing and puffing, panting. Did you guys hear that? Is anybody down there? Everybody's upstairs, like kind of looking at us like, what is wrong with you two?
Yeah,
Like, and
man.
apparently there was nothing down there. You know what I mean? At least for what we knew, that was of family members. So who knows what that was? Every time I mention that to her, man, it makes her skin crawl, dude. She hates that memory. So that
Well, I
was
mean, yeah, the voice you heard was that, you know, that straight up growl voice. I mean, when you're a
mm,
kid, you're terrified of that.
dude, it
You know what I
shook me to
mean?
my bones, man.
You don't
It
want to
made me
hear any of
freeze
that.
up. I was like,
Well, yeah.
so
Hell yeah, it would. Yeah, so that's a cool little interesting story, and I know it scared you because you're young, but I know that's not one of the most scariest things you experienced out there. But for me, being out there, I've had experiences here with ghosts here in California, but out there was a little bit different. Me and Jeffrey, my first year out there, Jeffrey ended up moving into a house with us. This is in Winchester, Virginia. And it was actually recent. It was really close by the cemetery that's out there. I forget the name of the cemetery; it escapes me for now. But
I don't remember it either.
we're literally right down the road from it. I mean, it's walking distance, and we're up in this little cul-de-sac. But the house that we lived in was over 100 years old. It was like the first house on that street in that cul-de-sac. And they renovated it and did a few things, but the basement was not. It wasn't renovated. It had gravel at the bottom, and I think one day we went down there and started finding bones. Remember, we started digging up, like, we didn't know what kind of bones we were digging up. I mean, they could have been chicken bones,
Who knows,
cow,
man?
pig, who knows what it was, but it was we were finding bones. We were just freaking out, like, what the heck's going on? But with that basement, we always had an issue with the light being turned on. And the first time we got out there, it was me, JJ, and Manny, and we went to Kramer's house. Kramer is another friend of ours. When we start throwing these names out there, you know, it's we won't go into much of their stories, but they're actual people that were there with us. We may change the names to some of them just to protect their identity, but these are actually real people. So we're out there and we go when we come back and the lights on and I'm like, well, who turned the light on? I turned it off when we left, and everybody's like, I didn't turn that thing on. So like, okay. So every time we leave, all the lights be off. We come back, basement light was on. Basement light was on. So eventually, you know, it got to the point where it got annoying. So then we're like, there's got to be a ghost here, you know. And then JJ had an experience, and I'll let him come on the show and talk about his experience that we had there too. But the one night, me, JJ, and Manny were sitting. We were watching a movie. I think it's called To Hell, the one about Jack
Oh,
the Ripper. You
ah,
remember that
perfect
one?
movie.
Yeah. And we have we just have candles on for it was some weird reason. We have candles on, like three guys. What like what? We're watching a movie, and then we hear the cups in the kitchen in the cupboard like fall, and like we all three of us we turn our heads to the right. We're all looking that way because I'm sitting. I think him and Manny were sitting on the big couch, and I was sitting on the small couch, but we were all looking that way. So I see both of them looking into the kitchen, and then we're looking, man, and we just see this like silhouette of a woman just float right on by, but she went right into the basement,
Oh hell no, man.
and then we just like look at each other like, you guys saw that? Like, yeah, like, okay, that's what's going on here. But we're at it. It's like you live there. She didn't really do anything bad to us. You know what I mean? Like she would. I mean, the cups in the cupboards would fall and everything like that. But it wasn't scary, and I don't think we let it scare us because where else were we gonna go?
Exactly.
We drove all the way out there from California, but we left right after. Like when our lease was up, like that year, we were gone.
New
We
house.
left. And I know you had experience in that house too.
Well, yeah, because later on that year, because I was moving out of my apartment, I was living in an apartment down the road from the school, pretty much. But used to come over, hang out
Mhm.
with y'all, stay the night, whatever.
Oh, all the
But I
time,
remember
man.
I remember y'all telling me that story, and I was just like, dude, there's some weird stuff around here. I can't imagine what the hell y'all experienced. But ended up moving in towards that summer, and I was like, man, I'll take care of the house, cut the grass, all that kind of stuff. Since you guys went back to California, and just like you said, man, that basement light was always on, right?
Mhm.
And I made sure I'd come over, cut the grass, come in, whatever, just mess around inside the house, make some lunch, get something to drink. But man, I checked that basement. That basement light was always on. And every time I left, after I would just go back home, I lived about an hour away. And every time I'd go back home, I made sure that that basement light was off. And
Yeah,
sure enough, every time I came back and it's locked and even had that little chain latch lock on it and everything like that, dude,
yeah.
that thing was never messed with, man. Every time I came back, I'd unlatch it, I'd take that deep breath, go, that light better not be on, man. I'd swing that thing open and it'd just be like, damn
It's
it,
on.
click, and then just slam that door back, get the hell outside, go cut the grass, do what I need to do.
Yeah, we had issue with the door too one time. It was always open. So we kept blaming each other, like, all right, who's pranking each other? Like, Manny, stop. Like,
Yeah, and
JJ,
everybody was
stop.
a
Blah blah
clown, man. We would always clown with each other. So it was probably one of us, and nobody was gonna crack. You know what I mean? But which one was
Yeah.
it?
Which one was it? So one day we put. You remember JJ's? He had a water bed, and he had this big old oak back part to it, and we put it in front of the door one time, locked it. Sure enough, that thing was scooted open, and the door was open. And I'm like, no way, dude. Like,
Come
who's
on.
doing this? One of you guys are messing around. But nobody admitted to it. Everybody's just like, I didn't do nothing. Like, I didn't do nothing.
Uh-uh.
So, yeah. So to kind of like preface on Winchester, when we got there, so I took a Civil War class. It was like one of my electives that I had to take to graduate, and it was kind of like one of those like you could take whatever you want. It's like your last class to graduate, but you just got to get this elective credit. So I took the history of Civil War, and the teacher was on the History Channel talking about Civil War. I mean, the guy, it was one of my most favorite classes I've ever taken in my entire life.
I never took that class, man. I wish I took that one.
Yeah. And it was interactive. You know, he took us to battlegrounds. But what was interesting to find out that the street that our school was on, like Pleasant Valley, and I forget the other one, was like the front line. It was like a front line of one of the battles. So apparently, the story that I heard was that cemetery, you know, a lot of Confederate and Union troops too were killed at that ground, and they just buried everybody there because there were so many dead bodies.
Mm.
So they buried everybody there, and that turned into a cemetery because of that. That's the reason why the cemetery was right there. So, um, you know, if you have all this traumatic events that happen in a certain area, you know that the ground's, you know, energized. You know, you kind of feel it. You know, you feel somebody's watching you. You feel like there's something there, but you just can't tell what. You know,
Yeah, it's like the soil is it's stained with the blood, you know what I mean? And that blood that was spilt had that emotion, that energy, uh the everything that was oof. I couldn't even imagine what those folks even went through. I mean, they got young folks to, older adults, dads, brothers, gosh, I mean, even what about, the one that's on the lines that he doesn't even have a weapon? He's the drummer boy,
oh
He's just there, just putting in a fat beat just to just to,
yeah.
just to get everybody pumped up, So
Get in the rhythm. Let's go, baby.
yeah, man. but but
Yeah.
man, yeah,
So
it leaves an energy behind.
it does.
It sure does because
I feel it.
people claim that things happen, man. They see silhouettes at night. They hear
Hmm.
the drummer boy drumming. They hear people marching. It's just you hear all of those kinds of stories, man, that are around battle sites like that, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah. So where you kind of moved to, like in the Manassas area, there's a big battleground over
The
there.
Manassas battlefields, man.
Um,
Yep.
yeah. Uh, what things occurred to you or happened to you, um, in that house that you stayed at, the one in Manassas? Did anything creepy happen to you over there? You have any?
Well, no, because my parents, whenever they got their house built, it's a brand new house built, and
Mm,
it's probably about 10 minutes away from the battlefield. So
okay.
nothing's ever happened inside that house. It seemed like maybe that's undisturbed ground. Maybe nothing ever happened over there. But as far as you could take tours and do all that kind of stuff. There's still old stone houses built around
Mm,
that you could take tours. I mean, it's many acres. I don't even know exactly how many acres that battlegrounds are, but
yeah.
you know, you could take a lot of tours and you hear a lot of stories. There's even some vineyards even claim around the area that there's unexplained things that happen within that vineyard. Things that
Yeah.
happen where because it's right there. They claim they see things. They see mists or whatever and hear just gosh whatever that they hear. So it's
Yeah.
unexplainable.
No, that house was awesome. I lived there for a summer with you, and that
Yeah,
was
man.
it was probably one of the best times I think I've had. And we were driving back and forth. We
That
we
was a
can
good
say that
summer,
for
man.
another show, but that was
Oh
a
yeah.
great summer. But yeah, let's get into a story that you told me about a bridge out there.
All
Tell
right,
us a little
man.
bit about
So
that.
there's the main urban legend of Virginia. This is probably the main one. It's called the Legend of Bunny Man Bridge, and this was in Fairfax, where I went to school. I went to Fairfax High School, and kind of deep into the woods of Fairfax, there's this legend called Bunny Man Bridge, right? So, um, how it goes, there's this it's not I mean, it's not even technically a bridge, it's almost like a tunnel, right? And this
Mhm.
tunnel it was like built into the ground that a set of train tracks goes over. And so basically how it starts off in 1904 was a mental hospital that was in the area, and then a newly developing neighborhood started going up, and people didn't really want to be around a mental hospital as they're developing this area and this nice piece of land out there. So they kind of petitioned and were able to get it shut down. And so as they were able to get it shut down, so they had to transfer these the patients to a
Okay.
local prison. And I believe the prison was called Lorton Prison. And on their way there, one of the buses swerved uh, out of the way of something that was in the road, ended up flipping the bus, crashing it, and a lot of the patients escaped that bus that survived, from what
Oh,
I heard. And I think it was about 10 of them or something like that. Well, it took about 2 weeks for the police and authorities to round up almost everybody except for two people. And the two people, the names are Marcus Walster and Douglas J. Griffin. Okay, so these two folks uh, were the names that were still out there at large, right? So
okay.
then weird things started kind of appearing in the woods around this particular bridge. And it was like half eaten rabbits, like skinned rabbits hanging from the trees, kind of scattered about on the ground.
Wow.
Weird stuff, right? It's
Yeah,
like, well,
right,
is
right.
somebody, just hunting these things, eating them, but they're like, nicely skinned, placed about the ground, all that kind of stuff. And okay, yeah, that's kind of weird. And but then somebody reported that there was a body there, and that body was the body of Marcus Walster, and but he was skinned and gutted, just like those rabbits were,
Whoa.
hanging from the bridge, right? So
No way, really?
yeah, so they're like, okay, so is this Douglas Griffin that's out there? You know what I mean? So like, what the hell is going on? So police ended up kind of on the heels and tracking this guy.
Mhm.
Never ever caught him. So this guy's never been caught. Kind of crazy. So everybody's kind of on the edge, freaking out, all this kind of stuff. Well, a couple years later, and this is, early 1900s, a couple years later on a Halloween night, these kids, group of kids out there partying out in the woods, doing what kids do, they're out there around that bridge and um, all, I don't know how many were out there, but they said all but three kids did not make it home. And so, I don't know, they went on a little search party, went back to where they were, and they found those kids ended up the exact same way as Marcus, gutted, skinned,
Hey,
and hanging from the train tracks, basically from that tunnel, right? And
wow,
it's pretty gruesome story, man, right? So,
brutal, brutal.
what is going on here? You know what I mean? And there are many versions to this story. I mean, but these are like the main points. I mean, everybody kind of tells it a little differently, but
Right,
these are like the main points, right? So, that was, I guess, those stories leading up in the early 1900s. But then what's crazy is now there's only like those records, but there are these actual records from the 70s, right? So this one, it was report, a police report from October 18th, 1970. An Air Force cadet and his fiance, I guess, were visiting his uncle who lived pretty close nearby where that bridge is. And you got to pass
hmm,
through. Oh, I should explain that this bridge, by the way, is a one-way tunnel. Okay, so I mean, only one car can squeeze through. You may have like a foot and a half, 2 feet on each side. It looks like you're gonna scrape your mirrors, man. So anyway,
wow,
as they go through this tunnel here, and I think they pulled into his uncle's garage, what they said, and or not garage, his driveway, and then nobody was home. It looked like all the lights were off, and then he was just about to get out, but then he saw like a figure in his rear view mirror right behind him, and before he could even like react, maybe even turn around, his back window just shattered and scared the shit out of both of them. And
okay,
now, but they report saying that they saw somebody kind of like in a white light-ish color. They couldn't really
mhm,
tell if it was, they could say that he was wearing some type of a mask, but they couldn't tell if it was like bunny ears or even like a conical mask. So it could have been, maybe even somebody from the KKK. Who knows? You know what I mean? Who knows?
yeah,
And but anyway, as they went to the police station, they just went straight there to report what happened. And there was a hatchet laying on the floorboard of the dude's car. And so what was hucked there was a hatchet through there. And many reports of, people saying that they see the bunny man or whatever. They say they see a guy in a bunny suit with a hatchet. So all this kind of weird stuff. Let's see
wow,
here. Um,
crazy.
Yeah, dude. So yeah, you got
I
some
didn't know that.
psychopath. So you got some psychopath out there in the woods
On the loose.
in a bunny suit
What
with
the
a
heck?
hatchet. So who knows if these things keep
Oh
on
man.
getting recreated, or is this really like some ghost of this dude? I don't. Who knows, man? But Bunny Man Bridge is, it's just, it's one of those weird things, man. That you go up there and you pull up to this place, and it gives you a sick feeling in your stomach. You almost feel the energy there. Maybe just because the legend of it, the way that that story goes.
Mhm.
It's a pretty scary thing. Just to think about. Well, a couple of my friends, we decided to go out there one night and see what this thing's all about, right? We hear about this legend, right? Do we
Yeah.
have the guts to do it? We're at a high school house party, and we're like, yeah, dude, let's go. Who's sober enough to drive? And this girl, can't remember her name, but she was like, all right, yeah, I'll take y'all. And um, so as we pull up to this bridge and we get in there, and I guess they say turn off the engine, turn off the lights, and open up the windows and see, if anything ever happens or whatever. Well, nothing happened. I mean, yeah, it was quiet. Uh, Everybody was kind of like, kind of scaring each other, poking at each other, this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
And then I was like, nothing's happening. Let's go. She goes to start her car. It didn't even start. Like the lights didn't started were, it was like her battery was like almost dead or dying. It was like, you know what I mean? It
Wow.
just did
Yeah.
not want to go. And she was like, I was like, come on. Like you're messing with me, right? You're just like bumping it. She was like, no, dude. She was like, I'm serious. She started bawling, crying. She started freaking
Mhm.
out, like literally shaking in her shoes, man. And I was like, all right, put it neutral. I jump out of the jump out, and I just
Mm.
started pushing. It's like get this thing out of the bridge, and it's about, I don't know, maybe 50 feet long, something like that. But we're in the center, so I
Mm.
only got like a 25-foot push, which
Yeah.
still sucked. But as soon
Right.
as we get out of the tunnel, her car started just fine, and we are like, let's go. I'm out of here. That's enough for me. You know what I mean? Like,
So was
dude,
that a
what was
leg?
that?
Yeah, was that a legend where like if you shut your car off, it won't start in the middle of the bridge or the tunnel? Like,
Well,
is
maybe.
that a
Well, people started saying that if you do go there, or on even on Halloween night, like don't go there on Halloween night because you're going to see somebody in a bunny suit with a hatchet. Some people were saying turn off your car; it won't start up. Who knows, man? Who knows if it was just the trapped energy that's in that vortex of hell right there, man? That just
yeah?
that
Yeah,
allows
you don't know.
electronics not to work once you turn it off. You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
who knows, dude? That was a weird one, man. That was a weird one. But Bunnyman Bridge, man, it's just it's a pretty creepy one, man. You can look it up online. It's right there for you to look at. There's many articles, many stories, probably even newer stories now. So, that was back in the 2000s whenever late 90s whenever that happened to me.
Yeah,
But, now it's 2022. Who knows?
yeah.
There's
Who knows what's going on now, huh?
there's got to be more stories. Well, they've said that there's been other sightings and other things that have happened.
Yeah.
There was one story talking about that every Halloween there's always somebody there with a bunny suit and a hatchet creeping on
Halloween,
kids. Who knows if it's somebody just playing a joke or one
Halloween
of
in
those
Virginia ain't no
sinister
joke.
things. If you've seen the movie Sinister where it like takes over another person, you know what I mean? Like jumps from person to person. Like it's just that one entity that takes over somebody else and
I could. Possession
who
is
knows,
a
dude?
real thing. Yeah,
It is.
who knows?
So
Who knows? Yeah, but Halloween in Virginia is it's pretty legit.
you got a good
It's
one
kind of
too.
scary. Yeah, I got a good one. I might as well tell that one now. So that talking about that house, that first house that we lived in, um, there was a cemetery down the street, and it was Halloween night, and another friend of mine, we'll call him JB. Um, we were watching Ghost Hunters. Remember we'd put on the Ghost Hunters marathon on TV
Oh yeah,
and just watch it. Like, oh, because it's kind of cool. It's Halloween, but hand out candy to kids, or we're just hanging out,
getting the
partaking
vibe
in.
of it, man. Getting the spirit of
Yeah,
Halloween. Yeah.
yeah. So so JB was like, man, I don't believe that stuff. It's not real. I was like, it's not. I was like, let's go drive around the cemetery then. He's like, all right, fine, let's go. So yep, we jump in his car and we go around the backside and just kind of driving, and we get past the entrance of it, and then we're looking, and then we see you know two people walking next to the fence of the cemetery,
And if I
and
remember
then
correctly, dude, that fence is like what, 8 feet tall, 10 feet tall. It's like a
oh, it's huge. Yeah,
it's like an iron fence, maybe
iron
six
fence. Yep.
six inches spacing, like,
Mm-hmm.
but it's, man,
It's
it's up
tall.
there. It's tall.
Yeah, it's tall, and you can and memory. It was bigger than the biggest one. So there was two, a really short one, a really small guy, and a big one, a huge one. And the small one's running his hand, you know, on the fence, you know. And from where we were in the car, there's like a little creek or ravine, right? Like a drainage runoff. And then it went up to a hill and then to the fence. So that, I mean, they're a good distance away. It's not like that we were right next to them. But I don't know if I had to guess, maybe like
Road's got to be like
40,
25 feet from the fencing, right? Like at
at,
least,
at least 25, 30 feet. Yeah.
at least.
But then you have the drainage runoff that you have to cross because it always has water in it. Thing about
Yeah.
Virginia, it's always wet. There's always water in these creeks and runoffs, so it's not like it's dry. But you have to get over that to the road. So I'm like, hey man, ask them if they've seen any ghosts. Just you know, throwing it out there, just like, hey, bro, see if they seen any ghosts. I mean, because why? It's pretty weird. They're walking around the cemetery right now. He's like, he looks at me. Yeah, all right, man. So he goes, hey, and then they stop. They stop in their tracks, and then he turns at me. We're looking at each other like, oh man, this is all BS. This is nothing's going on, and like it must have took like a second because we literally looked at each other and kind of chuckling, and we had the light on in the car. So he turns, and they were right there, and he does this thing, the lean back, like, damn, like what? He's like, what
And
the
they were
hell?
behind the fence, right, to begin with.
No, they're on our side of the fence, but they were at
Oh,
the
okay.
fence.
Okay.
Yeah,
They were
they were
at the
at the
fence. Okay.
fence.
See, I was
Yeah,
picturing
so
they were
they
on the other side of the fence.
no,
Okay.
they're at the fence on our side. So like
Gotcha.
circling it, the outside, kind of like how we were in the
Yeah.
car,
Kind of do
but
a
they
little
were
perimeter
walking.
check.
Yeah, so even so, that it was like instantaneous. They're right next to the car, like damn. And then the short one you could see was outside, and then it's just standing still like this. And it goes, "Hey, you guys seen anything?" Um, kind of just ask the question, "Hey, you guys seen anything like that?" And he's kind of like freaked out because he's like, "How the hell is these guys here already?" The one's just standing up, the tall one, right next to him, and you can see half his body out the window. And I'm like trying to look out the windshield, like, damn, man, that dude's huge. But it's pure black. It's and they have clothes on, like what I'm wearing right now, black hood. They both had black hoodies on that just blacked out. So I thought they were like kids trick or treating. A giant kid apparently. So the little um, he's already face level at the window, so he grabs the inside of the door. He grabs the door like that, and his hands cover the inside of the door, and he puts his face in like that. And when he does, we have the light on. So at first, it was a shot from his hood to his face, so we couldn't see it. But the light was on, so you should have saw something, and nothing was there. It was blank.
Oh my god.
There was no face. That, and then his head's on the inside, and we're just like,
You just
I
see
look
right to the
at
back of
him.
that hoodie.
Yeah, you see right through it. There's nothing there. Like,
Oh,
and then he just gives that, oh shit, boom, hits the gas, and we're gone.
oh
So
hell
we're
no, dude.
taking off, and I'm like, uh, we just see that? Like, we just that's real. We saw that. It really happened. Like, so I'm trying to run through my head. I'm like, okay, maybe the kid had like one of those masks on that completely blacks out your face, but I don't even think they had those yet. Like where
I know what
the
you're talking
whole,
about. Yeah, it's like a little
you know what I
veil,
mean?
like
Yeah,
almost. But you can still see because it's here in the front. You said you saw
it's
straight through to the back.
straight nothing. It was dark, nothing, nothingness, right where his face should have been. And
Oh man.
so we come around, man, and we get up to the light because he's freaking out. Like he's like, oh shit. He just keeps saying it over and over and over again. So we get to the light, and this huge fog. I don't is It's usually foggy out there anyways. It's Virginia, especially in October. It's dewy fog. It's wet. So we get to the light, man, and this ball of fog just lifts. I'm like, bro, look. He's like, no, no. He's just telling me no. Don't know.
What do
Oh,
you think would
we're
happen if
just,
you would have drove through? If you would have
I
continued on?
don't
Did
know.
you guys back up or did you guys go through it? What'd you do?
He We went to Sheets, I believe. So like we turned on that road and we went down to Sheets, the gas station over there,
I think
and
I
then
would have
we
sheet
then
my
we came
pants, man.
and yeah, and then we came back to the house, but the whole thing lifted, and he's just telling me no. I'm like, dude, look,
Uh-uh.
why is that lifting right now? He's like, look, he's like, no. So we get back to the house, and I'm just like, what the heck? Like, I wasn't even scared. I was just shocked that I saw like what really happened. And to this day, trying to get him to talk about it, he won't talk about it because you have somebody that doesn't believe and won't believe, but they actually experience something. And the crazy part about it is that we went out looking for it. We went out looking for it and we got it, and that's wasn't so good for him. For me, it freaked me out. But I've already seen stuff. I already know. I know it's real. So for me, I was playing with fire. For him, he was trying to prove me wrong. But then at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, he got the shock of a lifetime to where you know, it opened them up to like, man, I don't know what it was. I
But you
don't know
didn't
what
want
it
to
was,
stick
but I
around to find
know,
out.
yeah, I don't know what it was, but I know it wasn't supposed to be there, or you know what I mean, it wasn't human or whatever like that. But doing a lot of conspiracy stuff and talking about Sasquatch and getting into UFOs and aliens and stuff, which to me it's fun. A lot of people take that attitude to where they laugh at you, you know, and I think a lot of it's like a defense mechanism to where it can't be real because it's too scary. You know what I mean?
There's
As I
got to
said
be an
before,
explanation, right? Got to be an
yeah,
explanation for it. There has to
yeah.
be
Like I said
something.
before on the show, like you're gonna make up something in your mind to make sure it's okay because we live in a bubble. Everything's perfect, everything's fine, but once uh, if one of these things is true or one of these things actually happen, then that means it's real. Then that means it actually happened. So, if one of the UFO things is real, that means it's real. If one of the pictures of the Sasquatch is real, then that means it's real. It really
Well,
happened. It just takes one.
and in our case, I mean, we've had people with us experience the exact same thing that
Mm-hmm.
we saw in that moment, and you're like, wait a minute, as you try to reassess what just happened, you know what I mean? Like, did that just happen? Everybody's like, yeah. You get into this mode where you're shocked and you're like, I don't even want to talk about that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Whereas for me, I don't know, man. I get curious about it. I'm like, yeah, let's talk about it. Like,
yeah,
what happened?
yeah. Like you tell
What
me
was
what
that?
happened.
Yeah,
Yeah,
what was that?
yeah,
And
yeah. So that's just some experiences, that going out to Virginia and it's kind of like expected. That's the area. My sister had an experience too. They came out and visited me, um, and she saw there was like a Confederate soldier run across the parking lot, across the creek over there, and she's like, "Is there like a reenact?" She thought there was a reenactment. She didn't even put two and two together because there is. Don't get me wrong, there is a lot of reenactments out there. Like I
oh, for
drove by
sure.
one. I drove by one like seriously, like I was like trying to clear. I'm like, is that real or am I seeing ghosts? It was full on reenactment, and guys are good, man. They got the
Oh yeah.
cannons going off and the guns firing and stuff. So
Yep,
it's
and
pretty
if you've
cool.
never been to one, if you're ever in Virginia and it's around that time to go see a reenactment, it's pretty legit. It's pretty cool to go see. So
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty fun. It's pretty cool. All right, man. Well, thanks for coming on the show today.
thanks for
Telling
having me,
us your
man.
story. I'm gonna have you on some more. I like the story that you have and be able to share it with us and go through some experiences because realistically, people listening have had experiences,
Oh,
and
for sure.
some of the time they see it, but they don't understand it or they don't know what they're looking at, So sometimes they can relate to like our stories and what we saw and what we seen and know that they're not crazy and know that like other people experience these things because a lot of people like regular people that aren't really into conspiracies and stuff and have or ghosts and don't have these experiences and don't really care to have them or care about it have them. It's kind of cool to kind of relate to somebody like, oh, okay, I'm not alone in this. This happens to other people. So I
It
really
does, man.
appreciate you being on the show, man.
I thank you for having me, brother.
Thanks, man. All right, guys, remember, like and subscribe, and we'll see you back here next time. Thank you.
Peace.